Good morning, everyone, from Wisdom on Wednesday, and it's the last Wednesday we have before Christmas. And I was thinking to myself this morning, what will I talk about today that will encourage people? So, what I came up with was a story about myself a good few years ago, and I was living in a very traumatic situation, and I was very distracted by what was going on in my life, and I had three small children at the time, so I was quite busy, as you can imagine, and a lot of you could be in the same position today. So I was that distracted that I didn't even remember to put on the right clothes that I was supposed to wear going out. I was going out and I had a buggy, and then the other two were each side of the buggy. But I was so distracted and living in so much fear at the time, and maybe you're in the same position, that I forgot to put my shoes on. I literally forgot to put my shoes on. Now, there was another time that I put on the wrong shoes. I put on a high heel and a flat shoe and I didn't notice. But this time I literally forgot to put my shoes on. I was so distracted with the fear. And I went out in winter, in December, it was Christmas as well, downtown in my slippers. Never even noticed. My feet were wet. I didn't notice. I was so distracted. And that reminded me of what I wanted to talk to you about today. If you're in a tough situation, and many of us is in a tough situation at this time of the year, because Christmas brings up a lot of emotion for people. And maybe it's not you that's in the situation, maybe it's someone you know that's struggling. So share the video if you think that it will help them. So I decided then this morning to write down the three things that helped me get through that time. So I'm going to have to put my glasses on to read this. I wrote it down. And it was very helpful for me. So it might just be helpful for somebody else, and I think it will. So the first thing that I have written down that I used on myself was I kept telling myself, you can handle this. You can do this. You are stronger than this. And I kept saying that to myself all the time. And what I'm saying to you today is that if you're in a situation like this, remember that you are not paralysed. You are vulnerable. You're not paralysed. You're not stuck. You're not all them words that we tell ourselves. I can't do anything. I don't know what to do. I'm in a tizzy and I'm a tizzy and this is happening and that's happening. And all the urgency that goes on inside us. You're not paralysed. You are vulnerable at the minute, and you can help yourself because you can, like I said, handle it. You have to keep telling yourself this, even if you don't believe it. You have to keep saying, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. So that's the first thing I've written down. The second thing I wrote down is not to allow the presence of the situation you're in dictate your day, your week, your hour, your minute, your feelings. And if, especially on the fear one, because the fear will really rise up and it will keep you stuck, and it will change your thoughts from, like I was said a minute ago, that I'm not paralysed, I'm not paralysed. Fear will tell you you're paralysed. All that, them feelings will tell you you're paralysed. They will tell you that, but you have to keep telling yourself, I'm not paralysed, I can do this. I feel vulnerable, and everybody's vulnerable for no matter what reason. We all feel vulnerable at times, and it's okay. You are okay, and you will be okay. The last thing that I have written down is, instead of focusing on the problem all the time, or if somebody, like I did this, if anyone said to me, how are you? Well, I told them. I told them exactly how it was. And I told anybody that asked me, and afterwards I would be so embarrassed. I would be so embarrassed because you know the way we are. We kind of just say, well, how are you? Well, I was grabbing you and lynching you like this and saying, let me tell you how I am, because I was so desperate. The fear had me driven to distraction. And I can remember that day that my feet were soaking wet. I wasn't even bothered that people would see me in my slippers. When I realised my feet were wet, that was the thing that bothered me the most. But you know what it did? It actually grounded me, literally. It grounded me, and I couldn't even afford to buy a pair of shoes to walk home in. I had to walk home in wet slippers. I felt like an idiot. But that shows me how distracted I was and how much fear can literally paralyze us. And that's why I'm saying to you today, don't let it go there in your head. You're vulnerable, you're not paralyzed. You will get through this. And the last thing I have is that, like, when you are constantly running this thing over in your head all the time and you're thinking about it and you're talking about it, it makes the situation worse in your head because you're not looking at the solution. And the solution may simply be to tell somebody, tell one person, I'm struggling, because nobody can help if we don't tell them. I told nobody for years and I kept myself stuck. And it made things worse for me and it made things worse for my kids because my pride was saying, no, I can't believe I'm in this situation. How did I get into this situation? How am I going to get out of this situation? And I'm never going to get any better. I'm going to die. And everything. I really felt I was going to die at times because the fear and the panic attacks and everything that comes with that. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. And the other side of it was I was overeating and I wasn't eating the right stuff, all that kind of thing. In the doctors, always sick, always had something. So this might resonate with you, but it might resonate with somebody. And please help somebody else if we can help one person to get through Christmas that's struggling. So that's a little bit about what happened to me when I was in a tough situation and it was Christmas, because, you know, it can be magical and it can be lovely, but it can also be very traumatic. So that's it for my wisdom on Wednesday today, guys. It's the last one of 2019. Can you believe that the year has gone? It's amazing. But I just want you to know that I appreciate your support and I really appreciate everybody that has commented or followed the page or supported the page, or any clients that I've had in the year. I thank you so, so much for making Turning Point as successful as it is. But remember, it wasn't always like that. I wasn't always like this. I was the other side as well. But I've done it. I've grown and I had to have the courage. And you too. It's in you. It's in you. You need to dig deep and get it out. And help yourself and help somebody else by sharing this. And also, remember, we have our draw, which is at 3 o'clock today, for the beautiful frame from Nicholas Arts and Crafts, and I'm really looking forward to that. So I'll be announcing the winner live here at 3 o'clock if you want to tune in. But in the meantime, if you're in a bad situation, honestly reach out. And remember, you're stronger than you think, and this too shall pass. It will. So that's it for Wisdom on Wednesday, and thanks a million, and I'll see you all later.